Okay, so now we're gonna start loading the upper body. We're gonna start with a pushing variation. So we're gonna stick with a horizontal push as our home push variety. You can also push vertically. For those of you who are super advanced CrossFitters, they are all about like the handstand push-ups and things like that. We're not gonna get into that today, but we're gonna stick with a mostly horizontal press. So we all know from gym class the push-up, but sometimes push-ups can be too difficult for where we are in our fitness. So I want to show you how to scale both at sort of like the most basic level and then some more advanced variations. So at a basic level, I'm going to take my chair here, and if I don't quite have the upper body strength and core control, I'm going to use this chair to aid in my push-up. So I like these elevated versions a bit more than the knee version, which is not wrong. The knee version's not wrong, because this still forces a lot of that same core control and keeping that flat body in a way that, like, a lot of times people do a lot of knee push-ups, but it never progresses to a full push-up. I like this elevated version because you can progress it. So again, that's the name of the game with a lot of these things is if you want to stay strong and mobile when you're confined to your home, having access to progressive overload is really helpful. So I started there. Let's say I get a little stronger. I can reduce the amount of help that I get there by lowering my aid. So I just flip the chair around, got a little bit lower to the ground. Okay, so that works for me. Now I'm ready for a push-up from the ground. With our push-ups, we want to make sure that we don't push our elbows past our body too much. We want to keep that humerus nice and neutral. I like to coach like a 45-degree angle. So I'm not out here. I'm not going to hug in close, but a 45-degree angle for that press. The yoga teacher who works with us, Anna Shearer, present tense _yoga, she talks a lot about hand positioning too, because everybody's anatomy is different, and so you may want to play around with the most comfortable hand positioning for your anatomy. So let's say I've mastered that full push-up. I can do so many of those that it takes too long to get through the workout. So I can advance that by doing, this is borrowed from Eric Cressy, what's called a yoga push-up. So I'm starting in that high plank. I'm going to push into a downward facing dog position, and then from here I go right into that push-up, pushing myself away from the floor, right into that push-up. So what's great about that yoga push-up is we still get some good scapular movement, and you notice in that down position I'm getting close to that sort of like vertical pressing. So we're taking our scapula or our shoulder blades through more of its range of motion by pushing ourselves away from the floor as we're facing down. All right, so push up. I did my chair push-ups. I progressed those. I went to the floor. I did the yoga push-up. So how do we continue to make this more challenging using progressive overload? Well, I take one foot off the ground. So I'm in this position. As I push, so taking that foot off the ground makes that movement more difficult. Okay, those are easy for me. What do I do? Again, depending on the rules at your house, You may not be allowed to put your feet on the furniture. I'm allowed to here. So I'm gonna progress this. So it's not gonna take a lot of those. You can hear my heart rate's up to get some good work in. So again, thinking about that idea of progressive overload, you don't have to start there. I know a lot of times really strong people want to start the very hardest thing, but it can make a lot of sense to perfect that push-up first. The just regular gym class, basic, presidential fitness award push-up. Perfect that first. Then move on to the more advanced things. And what that does is that perfection allows you to have somewhere to go. So if you start there with the one leg off the chair and into that elevated position, where do you go from there? Leave yourself some room to grow. I mentioned this in the squat and lunge video. If you want to make all of this harder, also remember, add volume, reduce rest, and go slow. So think about how you could make just a regular push-up really hard, even if you're at the level where you're using the chair for support. Slow eccentric, and then up. Slow eccentric, and then up. So give those push-up progressions a shot.